Hey, Chris Baker here. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Hyperstone Heist might just be the most oddball, decent TMNT game of all time, and I'm excited to see it in the Cowabunga Collection. Just to look at this actual Sega Genesis version in action, you might think you're gazing upon a port of the 1989 arcade game, or perhaps its follow-up that was also on the Super NES, Turtles in Time. In reality, it's kind of both, while also sort of being its own thing, and, while still remaining fun and worth playing, completely inferior to the other two classics. It starts out just like Turtles in Time, only with not just the Statue of Liberty, but also all of Manhattan being shrunk by the Hyperstone instead of stolen by Krang. Followed by some new taunts from Shredder, and poor exposition replacing a lousy insult. From there, it's just a strange greatest hits collection of two arcade games: Sewers, Hoverboards, the Technodrome. But it does have considerably more caves. Lots and lots of boring-looking caves. All but one boss fight comes straight out of other games, only they're set up in a completely different location. Except for Krang, which oddly combines the moveset of Turtles in Time with the setting of the first arcade game. The only truly unique boss fight is Tatsu, introducing Shredder's right-hand man from the movie into gaming. I also dug the movie influence on the game over screen. But other than that, there's a pure cartoon influence here. And considering that cartoon influence, if you think about it hard enough, which I don't recommend, you'll realize an incongruence with 1987 animated series canon. By the time the Turtles met Leatherhead in the series, Baxter Stockman had mutated into a fly.
No container can hold me!
But here, totally human, doing his Mouser thing. I stumbled upon a really easy way to beat him too. Just have Mikey twirl those nunchucks in this particular spot. In fact, it's just crazy how beatable all these bosses are, perhaps to the game's credit. Even though the bosses are largely ripped straight from arcade games, they feel decidedly less cheap and designed to sink more quarters into the machine. YouTube long plays suggest it takes about 45 minutes to play through the game if you're really good, which is comparable to Turtles in Time on SNES and about 30% more than the arcade game. But it's also considerably easier. It took 4 of my 5 continues, 1 play per turtle, and about an hour and 20 minutes, not 45, but after burning through quite a few lives to finally defeat the only legit tough boss fight, being Krang, I did beat Shredder my very first time through. Something so easy is not what I'm used to when it comes to Genesis superhero games. If Hyperstone Heist has one advantage over the arcade titles, I must say that Genesis processing sure is being blasted to make for a faster feeling gameplay experience, and it stays pleasantly intense throughout. If only the movesets were as robust. I especially missed the Turtles in Time throw 'em at the camera move, which was already well established by this point. I also hate that you're punished with health loss for using super moves, which often prove less effective than a good old-fashioned jump kick to the face anyway. And if you're hoping for any kind of compelling narrative here, forget it. Hyperstone Heist has even less story than the arcade games, which of course wasn't much to begin with. As trite as rescuing April and Splinter would become in other TMNT games of this era, it would have been nice to have at least seen them outside of the beginning and ending cutscenes, where the reclusive Splinter totally shouldn't have been, by the way, even in Turtles in Time, and the outright exclusion of the Bebop boss fight to complement the Rocksteady one is highly noticeable. I also have to question what exactly happened when Manhattan was shrunk. The very first stage is New York City, so does that mean the Turtles are battling it out in Shredder's own personal version of the bottled city of Kandor from Superman? If so, when do they grow to normal size for the rest of the game? Yeah, I know I'm overthinking it. And even though I've seen every moment of this game in action, I still have a very weak grasp of what the Hyperstone actually is. With powers to shrink Manhattan and turn Shredder into some sort of elemental super soldier, it's quite versatile. You kind of have to wonder why Shredder and Krang waited so long to use this Dimension X artifact they've apparently had this whole time. And where exactly did the Turtles get a Hyperstone detector device, too? Also, why exactly did the bad guys do this whole thing to begin with? Was Shredder watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids as the HBO Saturday night movie and just felt particularly inspired? Or maybe wantonly shrinking things is just what evil does? Oh, and doesn't the title Hyperstone Heist make it sound like a stealing of the Hyperstone is occurring? Nah. Though I do suppose that the heist was pulled off with the use of the Hyperstone, so it's not a total misnomer. I couldn't be happier that this game is part of the Cowabunga Collection, though, because you might need to conduct a Hyperstone heist of your own if you want an actual Genesis copy of the game, as much as it's going for these days. You'll have fun for an hour or two, but it sure isn't worth the risk of doing time for a lesser answer to Turtles in Time. Thanks for joining me today. I actually wrote most of this review like 3 years ago and just figured I'd do something with it for the release of the Cowabunga Collection, which I'm very much looking forward to. If you're here for that hype, I'd highly suggest this Tournament Fighters video you see here, which was super fun to do when Injustice 2 came out. Anyway, I'll see you next time.